Good morning, beautiful humans. Happy Thursday. Happy full moon in Leo tonight, which is super lush. The moon was like really bright last night. I am hoping that I've got a little bit of construction going on across the road, so I'm hoping it's not too loud. But this is the only time I have to do this today, so I wanted to jump on now and chat a little bit about a couple of the polls I did over the last week, which have been really fun, by the way. I really hope you get involved and enjoy these polls and having these discussions. Love chatting about all these types of things, all these topics, and learning about one another and how a lot of people live in the world. I'm just popping a little bit of balance on because we're going to be talking about balance today. Balance in life. And balance is a grounding blend. So I've had a fair few energies go on this week and I've got a lot of things to do today. So I always bring a bit of balance and grounding into my life. How are you? I'd love to hear how your heart is. Pop it below, pop it in the chat. All too often we go through life and most people haven't even checked in with their heart to begin their day. Checked in with their body. So before I go into this live, we're just going to do that. If you've got an oil handy, you're welcome to utilize an oil. If not, please just close your eyes for a moment. And I just want you to feel your breath. And wiggle your toes. And just bring your awareness up your body. Just doing a body scan up your legs. All the way to your hips. Through your belly, feeling the seat of your power. Know your heart, and maybe your heart's not online right now, so maybe just tapping your heart a little bit. Maybe you need to take a deeper breath here and a longer exhale. Now just becoming aware of your throat, your jaw, your forehead, and all the way to the crown of your head. It's a really simple practice just to bring you into your body anytime you're feeling stressed or overwhelmed. Before you take on any new information, which we're about to have a little chat about. And you can do this practice at any time in your day. And it is really good teamed with balance if you want to feel really grounded. So I wanted to chat today about a couple of the polls that I did. I love seeing the responses to these polls because we are all inherently human, completely flawed in a very sick society. And what I love about these questions is the capacity that people have for them, or the markers in which you make choices from. So the first poll that I did that I want to speak about, because it was such an interesting poll. So the first poll that I spoke of was around how you deal with conflict, whether you acknowledge it, whether you avoid, or whether you project. And what was the most fascinating thing about this poll is that all the answers were acknowledge, but all the answers of acknowledge were from men and only one woman. So what was really interesting about the poll around conflict is that anyone who was avoiding didn't answer at all, which is very common. But what was most fascinating was that every single person who answered the poll around conflict was a man. And I've had so many discussions in the salon this week with men and women of all different generations of how you deal with conflict. And I think this is a really important marker in how we create connection and bonds. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Soph. And how we create bonds in life is our ability, and how we create sustainable bonds and connectedness and intimacy is how we deal with conflict. And this can be from a professional level, a personal level, an intimate level, a friendship level, whatever that is. So I find this topic really interesting, and a lot of the women that I spoke to around conflict is that they actually had a lot of fear around conflict, that it would create more disconnection, that there would be a reaction, that they would hurt someone's feelings. And for me personally, when I was young, I really struggled with having hard conversations, and being in business from quite young, I had to learn very quickly how to be able to deal with conflict in a way that actually invited people closer and invited more connection. Because most of the time with conflict, the other person just wants to be heard. So I just found that a really fascinating topic. I'm going to go probably deeper into that at another point. It's something that is a fundamental pillar in alchemy, because being able to deal with conflict firstly internally and then in your external relationships as a woman is absolutely vital to have thriving relationships, not only with yourself but everyone around you. So that is a topic of absolute importance in my world. And with the membership, I really drip feed this information and these insights and these resources so you can feel really equipped to be able to deal with these things, because a lot of it is subconscious. So I invite you into that conversation again of how do you deal with conflict? And I think a lot of people either haven't even asked themselves that, or they're like, oh yeah, I don't like conflict. So it's just a really fun thing to do with yourself to become more self-aware and to be able to self-reflect on it. So the second topic that we discussed is how do you build a sense of self-worth on a daily basis? And I had 4 options in the poll. The first option was praise and compliments from others. The second option was achievement and productivity. The third marker was self-reflection, and the fourth marker was self-care and rest. So 2 of those markers are actually about external validation, and 2 of those markers are about internal validation. Neither of them, I believe, are right or wrong in my experience of being completely messy and raw in my humanness. But what I do know to be true is that if we have all our markers in the external validation box, which we all have at some point, especially growing up and especially in adolescence, then we won't feel fulfilled. But if we're all internally validated as well, I believe it can create a little bit of stagnancy in what we want to achieve in our outer world. So I believe that to be resourced efficiently and to create a thriving internal world, we also need to be able to have our interconnectedness in relationships. So the internal validation and the external validation. So those internal validation markers were things like rest and self-care and our ability to self-reflect. I think they are 2 of the most fundamental pillars that I teach for women, because a lot of what we were taught as young women in society is to have external markers of success. I know when I was young, I was like always achieving the next goal. I was achieving the next outcome. That could have been sporting based. That could have been business based for me. It could have been doing another study. It could have been, it was when I moved to London. I had all these external markers of what I wanted to achieve to feel good enough and to feel like I was worthy of something. That worked for a period of time, and I'm very grateful for that grit and that will that I have in myself to be able to achieve those things. Maybe you can relate. And I think a lot of people have these markers where they're like, oh, if I just achieve this, or if I just have this, it could be the boyfriend, the uni degree, the house, the marriage, all these markers that society tells us that are externally validated that we're enough and that we're worthy. And then on the flip side, we have the opposite. We have the internal validation markers, which over the course of my 20s, and again, a big foundation of what I teach in my work with women and with alchemy, also the cornerstone of my retreats is how do we create internal validation in a world that is constantly dragging us every which way. So one of those markers is being able to self-reflect. Again, having resources, tools, questions, polls, ways that we create a more internally fulfilled validation, as well as being able to prioritize rest and self-care as an internal validation. It's an ability to be able to lean back into yourself and to be able to rest and know that you can be more rather than do more. So when we're externally validated, there's like a doing in the action. So if you're basing all of your self-worth around an external marker of success and accomplishment, even if it's daily, I would suggest that you bring in a self-reflection or a rest practice. And if you're always in self-reflection and always in a self-care and rest and not actually having external markers, that maybe you can like set some goals. So 2 of the ways that you can do this, if you're always like on the go, doing, achieving all the things, which is absolutely wonderful, but you're still not quite feeling fulfilled or you're burning the candle at every end, a really beautiful practice is bringing in a self-reflection journal practice, bringing in a gratitude practice, something that brings you in rather than that marker being out there. It's like, okay, I had a really awesome deadline at work today. That's awesome, I achieved that. But also bringing in that self-reflection every day of like, how did that make you feel? What did that do for you? And how can you generate that in other ways? And then if you're always in rest and self-care and you don't really have any like marker that you're aiming for, I invite you to bring in some goals that you can work towards, achieving, that you can work towards inviting in a little bit of more will into areas of your life, so you're not just like always in that self-reflection and always in that self-care. Neither of them are right or wrong, but in my personal experience as a 32-year-old woman, all cards on the table is that I believe having a balance of both is what has given me the most fulfillment. And when it comes to the external markers, it's not necessarily about always having something to go towards, but we're in a society where interconnectedness and accomplishment is still really important. I still want to achieve the things that I desire and that I dream of. And I think that's a very normal human thing. But my ability to self-reflect and understand why I'm intentionally doing that has been the game changer. So intentionally creating those markers of what you want, whether it's working towards a home or working towards taking care of your body better. I just think it's really cool to have these conversations, because if you ever feel alone in what you're going through, you're not alone, which is why I want to have more of these conversations. So please engage with my polls, because what you pop on there is how I'm going to talk about it, because we're more alike than we are different, and I love that about all of us and about being human. Yeah, so it's super fun. So I still get really nervous around doing these lives too, by the way. Like, it may seem like I'm super confident, and I am confident in the woman I am. I know who I am and what I value, but bringing yourself into these spaces that are so like online, yeah, pretty big too. So this is something I'm working towards, is doing one of these a week at the moment, is so I can be seen more and share more of these messages. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. And yeah, pop below how you navigate this internal and external dance of validation. I would love to know. And if you're wanting to deepen your practice with internal and external validation and understand yourself better and soften more into the woman that you are in a way that you're not always like wanting to be more or chase more or feel enough, or you want to be able to bring more will into your life of things that you want to achieve to thrive more in the areas that you're confident in. Alchemy is a really beautiful space for you. It is at the cheapest price it's ever going to be till this evening, midnight tonight. It's $125 per month for 6 months. Come and journey with a beautiful group of multi-generational women. We'd love to have you. We'd love to have you. We would love to have you there. It's a really beautiful space and it's very resourced. You've got so much room to grow there and transform and anchor more into the woman you want to be. So have a beautiful Thursday. Happy full moon. It's a full moon in Leo and it is a really big anchor and change point today. So set some intentions, soak in the moon tonight and have a beautiful weekend. Mwah!